coming back to our future events, which we have a different topic every month. How many of you are first-time attendees? Okay, that's a pretty good group of you today. So, a little bit about these and myself. For those that don't know me, I am Stephanie Parson. I am a full-time real estate agent and broker. And today I have most of my team here today with us. We have over 50 years experience in real estate, and we specialize in working with seniors. We also provide downsizing assistance. And how the Senior Empowerment 2 series was created was, I was working with a lot of seniors, and I saw that they wanted to move, they wanted to downsize, they wanted to go and maybe low maintenance community. They wanted to relocate to move closer with family, but they didn't know what to do with their stuff and couldn't get the ball rolling. And that was very sad to me when I would see people not being able to accomplish their goals. So I kind of saw a need, started doing some downsizing educational seminars, and now we just expanded it to all different kinds of topics that hopefully, those of us that are seniors are interested in. So that's the background. A couple things, housekeeping issues. We run from 10 to about 11 or 11:15 with our actual presentation with our panelists. We ask you to hold your questions. We do give you some writing paper for handouts so that if you want to write a question down when you think of it, we will have Q&A time at least 15 minutes. We have a no selling policy, so the panelists that we have here today, they have brought information. If you're interested in getting their handouts or brochures or anything, feel free to. You don't have to, but we will have that at the back at the end. And there's a lot of you have the notebooks. We started giving out notebooks. If you want to be a regular attendee, we can certainly have a notebook for you next time if you didn't get one this time. The goldenrod or orange sheets are evaluations. We read all of those. If you'd like to be contacted by one of our panelists or us for any further information, we want to hear what you had to say about our presentation today and any suggestions that you have. So I think that's about it for getting rid of the housekeeping things. So panelists, you want to come on up here and we can get started. And I didn't even realize this until these three gentlemen were here this morning. I'm like, it's all men today. That's very unusual. It's okay. All right. And you might have to flip on your microphone there. And you want to test it?
Testing.
Okay. And you guys will have to share for in the middle. So, all right. So, welcome, guys. Would you like to do a quick introduction of who you are, why you're here, what you do?
Good morning. Thanks, Stephanie, for inviting me. My name is Brent Dalrymple, and I'm the president of Sunrise Tours. And Sunrise Tours is a tour operator based in Kirkwood, right down the road. A business my parents started about 30 years ago, and I've been working at Sunrise Tours for 20 years.
Good morning. Thank you, Stephanie and team, for inviting us again, like Lynn said. My name is Brian Meadows. I work for the Department of Homeland Security here in St. Louis, specifically the Transportation Security Administration at the airport.
You're going to hold that a little closer, I think.
Thanks for not giving them trash to throw at me later. I worked for TSA for 21 years since 2002, right after 9/11. Right after 9/11. Right after 9/11, I started Homeland Security in 2002. I spent 15 years as a manager in operations, so I'm pretty well versed with screening bags and passengers. I spent the last 7 years in the administrative side, working with human resources, getting to do outreach events occasionally like this, which is I absolutely love because I love to answer questions and kind of take the mystery out of what you experience at the airport and make it a more pleasant experience. So happy to be here, and thanks for having me.
Okay, guys, my name is John Pike. I'm the trip planner for the St. Charles City Parks Department. I'm actually retired from the airport. I worked 34 years for TWA and 3 years for American. I retired in '04. In '05, I started this job. In August of this year, I'll have 19 years in with the Parks Department. And I really like what I do. That's the reason I'm still here. But I think I'm getting close to the end. I mean, as you get older, you know, physical ailments and whatever. So anyway, welcome.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Can you still hear okay? Yeah, okay, I was just noticing I didn't hear myself, so. All right, well, some great experience here, and I know actually some of our attendees, you know, each one of you in some way, not all of you, but a few of you, so that's awesome. So we're going to talk about travel today. So think back to the last time you took a trip somewhere. What part did you enjoy the most? And what part did you find the most stressful? The plane? Okay, all right. So we have somebody here to talk about that. So more times than not, usually the planning and the logistics is the most stressful part. So with our experts here, they're going to share some safety tips and travel options to help alleviate some of the stress. So Brent, what do you think keeps most seniors from traveling?
Well, I heard a couple people up front here give away the game a little bit. They said the airport, and you hit on one also, the planning can be a little daunting, booking the hotels, restaurants, certainly the transportation, and when you put it all together, somebody might think, you know what, that's a lot of work and effort. I'm not sure I want to endeavor to visit Yellowstone National Park or New York City or the Canadian Rockies, because there's a lot that goes into it. So I think you hit on something. Definitely the bulk of the planning and getting your head around how best to travel and book all those things. And then there are other little things like getting through the airport and the security and even packing. If I might start, one way people might consider alleviating some of that would be to travel with a tour operator. We happen to have 2 tour operators here tonight. Today. I'm with Sunrise, and of course John is with the Parks Department. But that's where traveling with a group, with a tour director or a tour leader, who's going to accompany you throughout the airport, throughout your trip through the airport, on your motor coach transportation, checking into the hotels, the restaurants, and so on. I think that's why a lot of retirement age travelers choose to travel with the group.
Yeah. So Brian, how about okay. So what about seniors traveling through the airport? Should they be afraid to do that? And
No, absolutely not. It is overwhelming. It is intimidating. To the best of travelers, it feels that way. The airport is a chaotic, confusing place. You stand in line for 20 minutes to get up to the security line for people to tell you to hurry up. I know, I go through it myself when I travel. I understand it, but we can take the mystery out of it. We have programs in place that a lot of people don't know about that allows you to, if you need extra assistance or if you need, if you have a disability or a mobility issue or anything like that, you can call ahead and get some extra assistance, some guidance from the airline, from TSA, and getting through the checkpoint, whatever you need.
So we're going to talk about that in detail a little bit more. So airport has special services, either through airline or TSA.
Correct.
Okay, that a lot of us don't know about, that we can take advantage of.
You should not be afraid to travel. Don't let the airport, the intimidation of the airport and the checkpoint stop you. We can slow down the process. We can get you some assistance right there at the checkpoint if you need it. We do have some special things in place we'll talk about.
Yep, okay. Mr. Pike, John. So I know when we talked before, one of the things that really came to light for me was you were pressing upon the when people go on your guys' group tours about camaraderie, and even if they're strangers to begin with. Can you speak to that a little bit about how you see that?
Yeah, certainly. I guess the main question that I hear the most from travelers is how much walking is involved. And I said, we try to hold that down. And the second question, most frequent question I have, I get, is I don't know anybody. I said, well, don't worry about that, because at the end of the first day, you're going to pretty much know everybody on the trip. And I guess, for me, the most rewarding part of the trip, or doing my job, is the fact that watching people make friends. They see somebody, and you can tell right away if they're hitting it off, So I think it's the making friends and the camaraderie, and it's wonderful.
Okay. And I have to say, I originally found out about the Parks Department, the trips that you guys do, from a client that I sold their home in O'Fallon. They were relocating to another state, and what they said they were going to miss the most was being so close and being able to go on the trips with the city of St. Charles. So they really had a really strong bond and group of people that they traveled with all the time. So, okay, great. So sometimes TSA and the airport can be a hassle, but we know it's really a crucial part of traveling to help keep us safe, and we appreciate all that you do and the TSA workers. So we want to talk about some tips for us to have a smoother experience through the airport. So Brian, can you give us an overview of TSA and its history?
Yeah, unfortunately, TSA had to be created out of the ashes of 9/11. The Department of Homeland Security brought about 26 federal agencies together, but TSA was created to see the need to federalize security screening based on some of the failures surrounding 9/11. We do have a federalized workforce here in St. Louis. Kansas City, for anybody who flies out of there, has a contract workforce, but they are provided oversight by TSA, so it's just as safe, just as effective. But the things the TSA can do for you as you travel through the checkpoint, my biggest two tips are ask questions, and if you're uncomfortable or it's going too fast, ask for a supervisor. We're well trained to deal with just about anything that comes through a checkpoint. We see thousands of people every day. We can slow down the process for you. We can guide you through the process and make it definitely more palatable. I don't want that to be the negative start to your vacation.
So we talked a little bit about the Homeland Security Trusted Traveler Program. So can you specifically speak upon that?
Trusted Traveler, and there is information in the back on the way out. It's not a selling thing for me, but just more of an informational thing. Trusted Traveler has about 5 different programs, but the 2 that we focused on are global entry for our international travelers, as it kind of helps expedite security as you come back into the United States through Customs and Border Protection. The other one is pre-check, which is what you see most often domestically. It is kind of a pre-vetting. You pay $85 for, I get that wrong, $80 for 5 years.
$80 for 5 years.
$80 for 5 years. I should know.
I only know because you told me and I made a note.
It's $80 for 5 years, and if you travel more than 2 or 3 times a year, it probably is worth it. You are going to experience a shorter line. You're going to get to keep your shoes on. You're going to get to leave most items in your bag. It really does expedite you through the security checkpoint. And we're able to do that because we have additional information on you. We vet you pre-screening, so when you sign up for the program, they do a background check. It's very similar to...
So it's a fast pass.
It is. It really is a
Express
fast pass. But there is also the chance that you may not get it once in a while, because we have the option of, we hold the option to kick you out of it every once in a while.
So you got to mind your P's and Q's to keep your...
We do it randomly,
random,
actually,
okay.
for security purposes. So everybody doesn't count on having it every time they go through.
All right.
But it doesn't happen too often.
Well, I don't have that, and I know I'm always jealous of those people that there is no waiting, and they're just walking right up there.
I get it because I'm a TSA employee.
Oh.
And I will leave my girlfriend in a 45-minute line to go through a 5-minute. I will tell her to find the nearest Starbucks at the back of the checkpoint. That's where it will be. So, It is worth it.
Okay, so so that was one of the, well, you talked about TSA pre-check, and then you talked about and global entry. So that is coming back into the States, going through like customs and all that?
Yeah,
nightmare?
global entry is pretty much the pre-check for international travelers to come back in through customs. You are pre-vetted by the United States government, and it actually gives you a bit of a fast pass. When you come back into the country, you'll see global entry fast lanes, and it does expedite your travel back into the country. So if you take a lot of foreign cruises or foreign flights or foreign tours, it is probably.
I don't have down what that costs. Do you don't know? It's on their handout back.
I don't.
Okay, no worry. Okay. And then TSA Cares.
Yes.
That's kind of the big one, I think, that we want to.
That's kind of my whole reason for doing these is we have a program called TSA Cares. I have cards for everybody in the back as you leave. And the important thing about TSA Cares is you can get all your questions answered before you go. And if you need special assistance, you can set it up and arrange it through TSA Cares. And we will meet you at the front of the checkpoint. We deal with people, just anything that stops them from going through a normal traveling experience, albeit anxiety, amputation, medical devices, mobility issues, hidden disabilities, sight impairment, hearing impairment, all those things, we can help with that.
Yeah,
And we
and I
can
don't mean to interrupt you, but one of the things I found interesting was that you had talked about, you mentioned anxiety, but you talked about kids that have autism and how you can make special arrangements to deal with their issues and make it the best experience for them.
Absolutely. I mean, I have shut down screening lanes just to bring a family through by themselves to deal with children with autistic or any kind of spectrum disorder. And we can do other things. We can have that family bring the child or children to the airport the day before and just put them in the environment to take some of the mystery out of it, answer questions, get them used to the sights and sounds. We can do just about anything. We can work with families to do just about anything we want.
Okay, all right. Well, I didn't know that either. So if someone is 75 or older, is it true that TSA allows you to go through the security, you have special accommodations going through the security line? Can you talk about that?
You do get some folks over 75 and children under 12 do get some expedited screening. They do not automatically get put into pre-check. In fact, that happens very rarely. When pre-check first started, it happened commonly, but as we've built up our pre-check population, we don't do that anymore. We save room for the people that have paid the fees and enrolled in the program. But you do get to keep your shoes on if you're 75 or older. Unfortunately, you do have to take off your life jacket if you're going through like a body scanner, but you do get to keep your shoes on.
Your life jacket?
Your light jacket.
Oh, light jacket.
Light jacket.
Maybe they're going on a cruise and they're already prepared. The life jacket.
Life jackets are these guys. Just cruisers. A light jacket. A lot of times, people wearing light jackets. You do have to take stuff like that off, but the big thing for 75 or older is to be able to leave the shoes on. So there is some expedited screening.
Okay. So what about, you talked about TSA Cares and, special services at the checkpoint,
Right.
but it's security at the checkpoint. So what if you need assistance like when you arrive at the curb at the airport?
That is going to be worked out through your airline. We work with our airline partners, but that's going to actually be the request of the airline that you book your travel through. You can call American Airlines, Delta, whoever, and you're just going to tell them you need wheelchair assistance from the curbside. And they will make sure that they contract with a couple different companies to provide wheelchair assistance. And they'll have a wheelchair person to greet you and bring you to the ticket counter, wait for you to get what you need. They'll bring you down to the checkpoint. We'll work with the wheelchair operator to get you through the checkpoint. One of the other things that we see most often, if you have somebody who needs to stay in a wheelchair and not stand up to be screened, please say that, because a lot of times people trying to help us out, or they say, well, I can stand. Next thing you know, they're on the ground, they're hurt, and they're going to the hospital versus Cancun. No, we'd rather you just tell us you need to stay in the chair, that you're not able to stand, and we have ways of screening you in the chair. So.
Okay, all right. So would your advice be if you do need curbside assistance, or maybe you're not in a wheelchair, it's can be a pretty long walk. So will the airline provide one of those golf carts or something like that?
The golf carts, due to some unfortunate accidents in most airports, have pretty much gone away. In some of your larger airports like DFW, LAX, New York, Chicago, they will still have those, but the wheelchair pushers, what we call them, wheelchair pushers, even if you don't need a wheelchair, but it's a long walk, or you have a condition that keeps you from, walking long distances, just get a wheelchair.
Okay, all right.
It's a free service. They work off tips, but it is a free service. So.
Okay, all right. So if you can't make the distance, then you're okay to request the wheelchair service.
I request one because I'm lazy. So. But no, if I had both my aunts who could not walk, but maybe 100 feet before they would need to sit down, and they both use wheelchairs to go through Phoenix and St. Louis. So.
Yeah, okay, all right. So pre-check line again. Does that mean you don't have to remove your shoes or your laptop or liquids? What is
pre-check?
benefits?
Pre-check, that is correct. You don't have to remove your shoes. You can leave your laptop in your bag. All your liquids that are under 3.4 ounces can stay in your bag. You still cannot have liquids over 3.4 ounces in your bag. The same rules apply. It's just you're able to basically put your bag right on the belt and keep walking. Unless there's an alarm. Obviously, if we alarm on something, we're going to do some different procedures. But yeah, for the most part, it is really a fast pass through security.
What do you mean by alarm?
Like we see something on the x-ray that we're concerned about, or you walk through and the metal detector goes off or something like that.
Okay, so let's
Because
talk
we do find weapons in the pre-check lines. I was talking to somebody prior to coming through. Even with all the advertisements and all the rules across the country, there still was just short of 7,000 7,000 guns discovered in U.S. airports last year in 2023. 90% of them were loaded. So over 6,000 loaded guns. We see a gun about every other day at Lambert. So.
Really? Okay, well, thank you for checking and keeping us safe.
And that is the fastest way out of pre-check.
Yeah. Good to know, good to know. All right. So you talked about alarms going off because of like metal implants and things. So can you speak to that? My husband's getting ready to have a hip replacement, and I know it was noted on his brochure about that, so.
Yeah, we see metal implants, knees, hips, elbows, shoulders, just about every day. Unfortunately, they do set off the walk-through metal detector. They don't necessarily set off the body scanner because they're internally implanted. So if you have a knee or a hip, the best request is to go through the body scanner because it is actually going to speed up your process. Unfortunately, in a pre-check lane, you go through the metal detector because for most people it's faster. But if you do have one, you can tell them. I encourage you to tell them, but bringing documentation is never necessary because anytime that machine alarms, no matter what documentation you provide, we're still going to have to pat that area down to make sure there's nothing on top of that hip and get you going. So
tell them.
Yeah, absolutely say, hey, I've got a hip. Because if you tell me before you go through the machine, I'll put you through the right machine so you don't alarm and you can keep going. There's no to do that.
Okay, all right, so yeah, just good to mention that and they can make it smooth for you getting through. Okay, all right. You talked about documentation. Anything more specific about medication going through TSA or flying with?
Yeah, no, one of the misconceptions about TSA is that all your pills have to be in the prescription bottle. They can't, no. You can take a pill box. You can have your pills. You can sort them and put them in your pill boxes just like you would home to take on your trip. It's no concern. Now, if you come through with 1,000 pills in a gallon Ziploc bag, we might be concerned about that. But other than that, normal pill boxes, that's everything's okay. I encourage you to keep your medications with you. If you have a certain type of insulin or something like that your doctor tells you can't go through an x-ray machine, just stop and make sure that we're aware of that beforehand. We have procedures for that.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I know I've seen a lot of people who have like a lot of meds that they take, so it's like you need a little carry-on just for that. Yeah. Okay, all right. So, Brian, tell us about contact informations or resources that would be good to seniors if they have questions, concerns, need assistance?
Yeah, the two that I really try to promote during these speaking engagements is TSA Cares. Ask questions, arrange assistance, ask what services are available. And then TSA.gov, our website, I clicked on it and printed some stuff off just for my notes yesterday. There's a section in there about persons with disabilities, senior travelers. You can click on it. I printed off 25 or so copies of a pre-trip checklist. That came out of the senior thing, just trying to take some of the mystery and the plan and put some planning into your trip to make sure that you're prepared for everything. So that'll be available as you walk out, but it's also available on their website. The TSA.gov website has evolved over the last 10 years, and I honestly can find just about anything on there. I spent an hour last night just kind of looking because I hadn't spent much time on there lately. But you know, everything you can and cannot take, it's on there. All the rules for the most part are on there that we can publish publicly are all on there. So.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. So we're going to come back to you kind of at the end to talk a little bit more about real IDs and passports, international travel. So, all right, so thank you. Oftentimes we think of travel and we think about airports or extended trips, but the St. Charles Parks Department, they have a lot of day trips and a variety of trips. So wonderful, wonderful resource in my investigation and looking at what different groups offer or municipalities, and hands down they have the best variety and number of trips out there.
Yeah, we do about, I would say, 40 to 50 day trips a year. And there are various places. We look for places that are unique, a little different. We do a lot of shows, Stage in St. Louis, the Fox, the Lyceum in Arrow Rack. We do a lot of those, and it seems to be that the ones they prefer the musicals. So we kind of hit those pretty hard, you know. And on our day trips, we always pair a lunch or a dinner with it. Most of our day trips are in the afternoon. Most of our seniors don't want to drive at night. So we generally do the matinee shows and then follow with a dinner afterward, and they're pretty popular. Our day trips, normally they sell out. And we've got a bus dedicated for day trips. It's a brand new one, it's 2 years old. We ordered it out. I believe it come out of Indiana somewhere. And it seats 40. And our trips fill up pretty quick. The day trips as well as the extended trips. So yeah, we do, and then we do other things. We'll do a Cardinal game every year normally. The shows are the big thing. I think we got a dairy farm in Illinois we're going to, which is not out yet. That's going to be on the new brochure.
That's the one I want to go to. We talked about that. Because
Yeah.
you said I could milk a cow if I go.
Well, I think it's like a simulated cow. So it's not the real experience.
When we talked before, you said 50 to 60 day trips a year, and you do about 5 or 6 overnight or extended trips a year. So do you have to be a City of St. Charles resident in order to take advantage of the trips?
That's a good question. I hear that a lot. No, there's no residency requirement for any of our trips. They're open to anybody that wants to go. Certain vendors on some trips may require an age of 12 or whatever, but we don't have many kids on our trips. They're all seniors.
It's not restricted, but that
No,
just is
we've
what
got-
it ends up being.
Yeah, we've got regulars from South County, North County, West County. The bulk of our travelers are St. Charles, St. Peters, O'Fallon, and Wentzville is the bulk of them. So they're all pretty close, you know.
So, Don, how many people usually go on these trips?
All of our trips are pretty much sold out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so for this year,
Well, the trips for this year really haven't been released yet. I think we got 1 or 2 left. And our play brochure is, and I got a stack of them in the back. Our play brochure, it got all of our trips, day trips, extended trips, and all other parks programs in that play brochure. And I think Stephanie's got
So,
one.
I do. So
Yeah.
you're saying these that are in here are already sold out?
Yeah, I think there's only 1 or 2 left in here.
Okay.
I'm telling you, these trips, there's
Okay, so you're gonna have to plan ahead, right?
Well,
So
yeah, but that, when you gotta move fast.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying, I know we're seniors, but, I mean, I'm just telling you, they're filling up.
They're popular, okay, all right.
When is a good time to sign? I mean, if they're sold out for this year.
Do you get on a list or
Go
something?
on and get in next year.
Okay, the new brochure, this one right here, the new one, is coming out here within a few weeks. I don't really work on that,
But
but,
those are all sold out, right?
well, the trips that are in this one here run up till about sometime in March. And then the new brochure is gonna be the 6 months between March and like October. So that's gonna be the bulk of the day trips right there. They're gonna be on the new one coming out. So what I would suggest for you to do, I've got some back here, and if they're gone, call the front desk, 636-949-3372, and tell them you want one of these mailed out to you. And they'll put you on a mailing list to
Okay.
where when these come out, they'll automatically mail it to
Okay,
you.
so this is October through March?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that this has been circulated for a while, so most of them are filled
Well,
out. but the next-
actually, we're in transition because the schedule that we're on now, we're on a transition into that schedule. So,
Could you repeat that phone number?
636-949-3372. That's the front desk at the Parks Department, and that's at Blanchett Park.
Okay.
So they'll send you one out.
How many people are usually in these groups? I mean, is it
Well, the day
20,
trip, our bus,
60?
yeah, our bus holds 40,
Okay,
and typically they're sold out. And everything is first come, first served, and that's just the way we gotta do it, you know. And,
okay, so very popular, plan ahead.
that's the day trip. Do you wanna know about the extended trips or?
Yes, please.
Okay, well, the extended trips, those run, we generally do a Christmas trip that's 3 or 4 days. So we offer the shorter trips for people who don't want the long ones. We offer 7-day trips. We do a mystery trip every year. That's 7 days.
Are those sold out already?
Well, here's the story. We released a mystery trip for this year
Uh-huh,
last Thursday.
yes.
And like I said, it's first come, first served. 7-day trip. It's in July. We released it at 8 o'clock on Thursday morning. It's sold out 50 people in 27 minutes. So they're pretty popular, I'm telling you.
Well, it's like we're getting Taylor Swift tickets.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Where's the mystery trip going to?
Oh, I can't tell you that. That is highly, highly top secret. I tell you, the only one that knows is my boss. Even the girls in the desk that work the front, they don't know either.
Okay, where was the mystery trip last year?
Last year we did, oh man. Well, I tell you something we've done in the past. We did a trip to Iowa, and people in the beginning said, what the hell is in Iowa? Well, we did a 3-course catered dinner in the middle of a cornfield.
Did you?
And they took us out in a hay wagon, and it was awesome.
Is that where Field of Dreams is at?
Well, you know, I wanted to put Field of Dreams in that trip, but I had to cap it at 7 days. You just can't, you know, when you put these trips together, you just can't keep adding days. You gotta, you know, and basically what I do is I work from the outside in. And I say, okay, how many days do I think it's gonna take for this? You know, say 7 days, okay, I gotta put what I gotta do. That's just the way I do it. The extended trips, we charter a coach out. Generally, we do Vandalia, sometimes Husky. Those are over-the-road coaches. And we cap our extended trips at 50.
Okay, so what do you guys typically furnish? What's included?
Okay, on all of our trips, day trips as well as extended trips, we take coolers of bottled water, soda, juices, whatever, and snacks. Also, we have big Tupperware trays with snacks in them. And we typically don't go more than 2 to 2.5 hours on the road without a restroom stop. So, you know, with our age group, it's pretty important.
Right.
And we typically don't go more than 2.5 hours on the road without making a stop.
Okay, and I know you take that, the city owns their own nice bus. Is this it in the picture up here?
Well, that was, yeah, the
No.
one on the top is our bus for day trips. It's not set up for extended trips. There's no luggage. There's no one.
Right, so the day trip bus, it doesn't have bathrooms, so you have to, but
No,
if you're going on an extended trip, you guys rent the
there's-
nicer coaches.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
bathrooms on them, yeah. But we do have a wheelchair lift on our day trip bus.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay, that's awesome. What is the average cost someone can expect to pay if they would be so lucky to even
Well,
get on?
I know the gentleman's got a question back there. I guess we'll get it later.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we'll get your question a little later.
Your extended trips.
Yeah.
Okay, in the brochure.
Save it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna be in there, and I've got some more stuff back here.
Okay.
For upcoming.
So John,
Yeah.
tell us average cost of,
Yeah, the average cost, and that kind of depends on where we're going. I mean, we do a lot of shows at the Fox Stage of St. Louis.
so what would somebody expect to pay for something like that?
Well, those, we put a dinner with it, and the tickets are just getting out of sight.
Okay,
It probably, those trips with the shows, they might be 125.
okay.
A typical trip, if we're going to a dairy farm or whatever, they could be 65 to 85
Okay.
in that ballpark.
I mean, that seems reasonable. That's your transportation.
that's why they
That's
go up.
the entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, okay.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. I saw that there is a classic New England trip in the fall in September.
Yeah, we, every year we do, and I've done this for 18 years, we have what we call a FAM meeting, F-A-M. People think it's family, no, it's familiarization. And I do that the first Sunday in, November every year. And we invite all of our travelers in. I think we had 145 last year in an auditorium. And I do a presentation of our extended trips for the following year. And that's always the first Sunday in November. And then the next morning, we open them up for sign-up at 8 o'clock. And the trip that you're asking me about, that was on our band meeting back this past year.
Okay,
And
that's the
that
secret
trip-
pass then.
Huh?
That's the secret pass. You need to get into that November.
I'm telling you, when we released them 2 trips, New England, classic New England in fall, that trip sold out in 40 minutes. They were lined at the door.
Yeah,
Lined
okay.
up at the door, and so.
Well, I think John's going to be sticking around afterwards. He does have information, so if you want to talk to him personally about phone numbers and contact information and how soon you need to get on a list, then he'll have that information. So, all right, thank you so much, John. So maybe someone is a little more adventurous and they'd like to go on have more options for extended trips, and which involves even more planning. So Brent, tell us about, specifically how your tours work, and you are all your trips just senior based or?
Our target market are retirement age travelers, yes. The average age of our
Yeah.
traveler is about 72.
Okay, awesome. Do you have some availability on any of your trips?
We do. We do.
Okay. And I'm not here to really sell the trips, but I'm like, it's good to know like how far you need to, I mean, you guys is a pretty stinking popular, so you've got to play your best.
John's exactly right. You've probably heard that travel has come storming back the last couple of years, the second half of 21 even, 2022 and 2023 were our best years ever. We're offering, at Sunrise, we're offering more tours, upwards of 80 to 85 departures in 2024. That's about 50 different itineraries. They are all what we're calling extended tours today, overnight tours between 3 and 13 days. We tried to offer some day trips. Nobody signed up because they're all going with John. But so
Well, John, maybe you can redirect, you can give out this information for people who can't get in, so, okay.
So yeah, and I think John can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that what we do is similar. It's a group package tour, and it's a very inclusive product at Sunrise Tours. So the price you see on the website or the catalog includes all your transportation, including your airfare and your meals as indicated. We usually include 2 meals a day, which means you might have lunch on your own at one of the charming towns or villages that we're visiting, but 2 meals a day, and then all the activities, the national parks, the local guides, and as I mentioned earlier, your tour director who will accompany you from the morning of departure until your evening of return. That's your professional Sunrise tour director.
That's like Julie from the Love Boat? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm actually not super familiar with Julie, but yes. Your tour director is with you from start to finish, making sure it goes smoothly.
Okay, awesome. All right, so tours that you offer, we talked about, could be a bus coach tour, could be involve flying.
Yes.
And cruises.
Yes, we travel by deluxe motor coach, a full-size motor coach, which normally would have 56 seats in it. We limit the capacity on our tours to 44, and we have negotiated with our local coach vendors to take some seats out of many of the buses so everybody has a little more leg room. So we limit capacity, and on most coaches you'll have some extra leg room, so we travel by motor coach. Certainly by air, we're flying through the airports all the time. By rail in some cases, Canadian Rockies by rail is a great tour, although that one's sold out this year. We charter river cruise ships in Europe. In fact, in about a month and a half, I'm going to Holland and Belgium. That cruise is sold out. That's a Sunrise Tours private charter. We charter the whole ship, all Sunrise Tours customers and guests and staff. So it's a great way to see Europe. And it's a nice, we were talking about mobility and walking. It's a nice way to see a lot of different towns in Europe, and you're spending your night on the river cruise ship, so you don't have to transfer hotels. So that's a great product.
Yeah, that's a really great point.
It's really blossomed over the last decade or so.
Okay. Where do your tours depart from? Like, I know you mentioned you're based out of Kirkwood, but we're out in St. Charles County, so.
Yes, we have several St. Louis area pickup points, one of which is here in St. Charles. And if we're flying, then you can drive your car to the pickup point, leave your car there for the duration of the tour, and then it'll be back there when you return. But we're up to about 5 or 6 St. Louis area pickup points, and we run a fleet of 3 Sunrise Tours shuttles, which we use to consolidate those pickup points on the way to the airport or on the way to hit the road, so to make it more efficient departure and return.
That's you guys, all of these trips, I mean, it's a tremendous amount of planning, the logistics and making sure people are where they need to be and what they have. So tell us a little bit more about your tour directors and then these step-on guides.
Step-on guides, yes.
Okay.
Yes, all of the Sunrise Tour departures will be accompanied by a professional Sunrise Tour director. These are friendly folks that are retired small business owners. We have a couple of retired teachers, actually.
Are you hiring?
And we have about 13 on staff right now, and so we are fully staffed. But they are experts in logistics, and they are hosts and hostesses to make sure that you are comfortable and your questions are answered throughout your tour. They communicate with our vendors, the hoteliers, the restaurants, and so on. They work in partnership with the bus drivers to make sure we get where we need to be when we need to be there. And then we also hire a lot of local, what we call local step-on guides, and these will be professional local guides that will get on the bus or join the group. Could be a park ranger or a professional New York City tour guide, and they will get on, they will join the group and give that local expertise, that local flavor, the real New York accent, the historical anecdotes, the stories. These people add a lot to your vacation experience, and it's something that you can't always do as an individual traveler. So I think that's another real benefit. I'm sure John would agree, to group travel.
So, and you guys have been doing this for 30 years?
30 years. My
Okay.
parents started this business when I was a freshman in college, yes.
Okay. You guys do it right. I mean, you have an excellent reputation.
I appreciate that, yes, and we have some folks in the room here that travel with us. This is nice to see.
Okay, so deposits, what do those usually range?
Typical deposit is $250 per person. Sometimes on a cruise or an international tour, there might be a different range, but usually $250 per person.
Okay. And I mean, stuff happens every day, right? Like unexpected things come up. So do you offer travel insurance?
Yes, we offer travel protection from Travel Guard, which is an AIG company. Of course, you can buy travel protection anywhere you want. AAA, there's all kinds of companies, but we offer it from Travel Guard, and the cost is 8.5% of your tour.
Okay. All right. Good to know. These are a couple pictures we pulled from trips that you guys have coordinated. That one looks really cool, and
Yeah, I believe that's winter in Yellowstone up there,
Oh.
which is, we started doing winter in Yellowstone tours maybe 10, 12 years ago, and there were not a lot of people going into Yellowstone at that time. They only had one lodge open, and even today you have to take a snow coach in and out of the park. But nowadays they have a couple lodges open. It's a really incredible time to visit Yellowstone National Park. You see the animals, frequently, of course, the thermal features and that cold air are just spectacular. So that's a wonderful tour.
Okay. So travel tips. These are some that I know that you provided to us, recommendations to give to seniors to make travel a little easier. So increasing your walking time ahead of a trip. So
Yes, when you travel, we get into our routines and we maybe take a walk around the neighborhood, maybe go to the grocery store. That might be the extent of it for a day. But when you're traveling, you're going to be up in the morning. We're going to visit some sites, take a break in the afternoon. You might go to the show that evening. So it ends up being more walking probably than you're used to. So I think people benefit from working out a little bit ahead of time.
okay. So one of the items is wear comfortable shoes. Don't go out and buy a new pair and plan on wearing them on the trip, right?
Yes, for sure. And you all can read these.
I like this international travel one. That I didn't know
Yep,
about.
use your ATM card. You're going to get a lousy rate if you exchange cash at the airport, for example. That's about as poor a rate as you can get. You will get a decent rate if you take out cash with your ATM card, and you'll get a very good rate if you just use a credit card internationally. So that's what I always say is use your credit card first, and if you want to get cash, use your ATM card. Of course, you should notify your bank and your credit cards ahead of time. In fact, a lot of credit cards now, and even banks, if you log into your account, you can notify them, on their website if you're going to be traveling abroad. So they've really made that pretty easy. And one of the things I think I mentioned was about being nice to the airline staff, which
And TSA.
Yeah, well, absolutely TSA. Well, what I was thinking earlier, there's a lot of consternation and stress people feel about going to the airports, and I was thinking about that earlier. Of course, I'm in airports all the time. I'm in airports with groups all the time, and what I might suggest you do, if you start to feel that stress, if you see that line of people at the airline ticket counter, or at TSA, take a look at the people who are not stressed. The airline ticket agents and the TSA agents. They're relaxed, they're comfortable, they're smiling. They see those lines every day and they know you're going to get through the line, you're going to get on your plane. So just relax and kind of take comfort in the people the professionals that are doing it every day, because those lines can be daunting. You can get caught up in it, but those folks are, and they're friendly. The TSA agents, ask them a question, they'll help you out.
Or ask for a supervisor.
Yeah.
Will they get you, Brian?
Nope.
Nope.
Not,
All right.
not anymore.
Okay, all right. So thank you so much for that information. So I think, what I get out of this is the group travel is that, it's like going on a field trip when you were a kid, in grade school. You're all excited and everything, but you didn't have to worry about anything. You could just enjoy it because people were pretty much telling you where to be, when you need to be there. Everything is planned out for you, but there is some flex time built in too. So I don't know. I think going on a group trip, especially if haven't traveled a lot and you want to get into it, that would probably be the way to go and learn and see how it's done. And then you might be more confident about planning a trip on your own. So, all right. So let's talk, switching gears, about IDs, what we need to travel internationally. So Brian, these real IDs are a pain in the butt. If any of you, how many of you have gotten the real ID driver's license? Did you get all your documentation right the first time? Oh, well, you guys are smart. Okay, so I mean, especially if you're a woman, and they don't take certain things from the hospital. It has to have a seal, and if you've changed your name, luckily, if you've been divorced or something, oh my gosh. Anyway, so talk to us about the real ID. How do you apply for it? How do you know if you need one, and when will it be necessary to have to travel?
All right. As of today, let's go that direction. You will not need a real ID to travel until next year, May of 2025. This Real ID Act that was passed, just to give you some background, was to kind of make things across the board in all 50 states where the ID requirements were up to the same standard.
Every state?
Yeah, every
Okay.
state has to meet the same bar in order to get a real ID. This was put in place to attempt to not get a federal ID because we have passports and stuff. But given each state the individuality that they wanted to continue to issue IDs, but to meet up to the same standard. So the Real ID Act, because 50 states trying to get compliance from all 50 states has been nearly impossible. So they've kept kicking this deadline down the road. The current deadline now, and I had to print it off, is May 7, 2025. So if you don't have a real ID, you're fine to travel in 2024 without one. But eventually, I'm confident we are going to get to a point where they are going to require real IDs and all 50 states will be 100% compliant. So Missouri is not 100% compliant because they still offer non-compliant IDs, which probably a third of the room still has, which is fine for this year. But next year, I think you're going to want to start moving towards having a real ID. If you don't know your real ID, if you don't know you have one or not, if you take out your ID and look in the upper right-hand corner, if it's a real ID, there will be a gold star up there. That's the telltale thing. Yeah, looks like that.
Okay.
All
right. So, the real ID is for anytime it'll be when you need to fly. You have to.
You can fly domestically with a real ID. Anytime you fly internationally, you're going to need a passport or a passport card, depending on where you're going.
So, can you use a passport instead of a real ID?
For travel, yes. I would not hand a police officer a passport when they pull over them. So, well.
Have you done that?
I have not, but I know people have. So, no, I mean, obviously we're speaking about travel. So
yeah.
For travel, yes, you can use a passport. We prefer passports in the travel industry just because there's a standard set with the travel with a passport. we know the level of scrutiny that you've been vetted to. So, but if not, a real ID is perfectly fine. And right now, this year, a normal ID is fine, or an ID card.
Okay, so there's a passport book,
Yes,
and then there's a passport card.
correct.
Okay, so there's two different options there. So, so when do you actually need to have a passport rather than just, your driver's license or a real ID? When is a passport required?
So passport cards, which are a cheaper option to a passport book, passport cards are good for land travel between the United States, Mexico, and Canada, and some parts of the Caribbean. If you're going to fly internationally into any destination, you're going to need a passport book.
Okay,
Now, cruise ships are still allowing passport cards.
okay.
Eventually, I think we're going to move to a system where passport cards are eliminated, but right now we're not there.
Okay.
So if you have the option and you have the money to get a passport book, I would get the book. That would be my strong recommendation.
Okay, so the cards are running, what is that, 65? Okay, for the passport card versus a passport book for first-time applicants, it's 165. So there's some savings there. So again, driving over the border, some cruises, and domestic travel, the passport card is something that you can use versus a book. So, all right, well, that's good to know. So how about places to apply for a passport? Here are some places you can go. The post office, okay, our libraries. So St. Charles City County Libraries, these are a couple locations that offer passport services. They'll take your picture. They have the forms there. They'll look over your documentation, and if you're a first-time applicant, they will collect it there and send it in for you.
Yeah, they take all the mystery out of doing the
Yeah.
passport, especially the places you got mentioned. And one thing I know, it's on the next slide, passport fraud. You mentioned
yeah.
it. There are companies on the internet that will make promises about passports and expediting them if you pay this much money. Really, please avoid those. Your best bet is your postal service or your county library. They will take your picture. They're cradle to grave, beginning to end. They can handle the whole process, including mailing your documents away. So by far the easiest. You can make an appointment online too.
Yeah, I think the cheapest option I found was actually going through the library. You can also go to some CVS and Walgreens to get your photo taken. The photos, don't try to take it yourself, okay? Don't bring in a photo. There's very strict things. You can't smile, you can't have your glasses on, your ears gotta be showing.
Right, there are
Yada,
very
yada.
specific guidelines for your photo, and even the size of your face in the photo is important. So
Yeah.
they know the rules and regulations. I had mine taken at CVS. They did a fine job, but it's probably a little cheaper to go.
It is, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, and you mentioned about there's fraudulent sites out there that will, you think you're ordering a passport online, and I know the information I found that I got was, only our government-regulated sites, they all are going to be a .gov site.
Right.
So that's kind of a red flag if you see a site that's offering passports and processing and it does not end in .gov. The fine print a lot of times will show they're operating in foreign countries. That certainly doesn't make any sense for a U.S. passport. And a lot of them will ask for the fees or execution to be paid up front, and that's their whole thing, is they're trying to get your money, and then they're not going to send you a passport or anything. So here's the safe places to go if you need to get a passport or passport card. So
Now bear in mind at the Postal Service, at the library, they are also going to ask for your money before they mail it away, but they're legitimate.
yeah.
So we've seen fraudulent ID. We've seen a lot of ID cards. You mail in a picture and a $200 check or whatever to expedite it. They'll send you back a picture of an ID card. which people don't realize a lot of times is not valid. And what they do is they create an ID card with your information and put your picture over it, take a picture of it and send it to you, and they keep your money. They do little work to give you something that meets the standard of what's listed on their website. Not valid.
Everybody's always trying to scam.
Yeah.
All right. So recently I learned about a really cool website, and I know when we were talking last week, I know Brian, I think that you actually went on it and you're like, wow, this is
There's a lot there.
really cool information.
Yeah, there's a lot of information there, and I've already shared it with like 20 people. So it's a State Department website and the U.S. Consular Service, but it's kind of a one-stop shopping for international travel. So
Yep.
great.
So the site is travel.state.gov. And it includes information about, passports, international travel, U.S. visas. It will let you know about vaccinations that you need, depending on where you're going to, how many blank pages you need in your passport, safety precautions to take to the specific area you're going to, travelers checklists, location of the U.S. Embassy. So there's a Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, it's called, through them, and it's a free service to U.S. citizens traveling abroad. It'll enroll you with the nearest U.S. Embassy or consulate, and you'll receive important information directly from the embassy. It will help the embassy contact you if there's an emergency while you're in that area, whether it be a national disaster, civil unrest, or a family emergency. And it will help family and friends get in contact with you when you're in another country. So that I thought was a really helpful resource, and it gives you a rating like for different places if you're trying to decide where you want to go. It'll give you a rating about how safe it is to travel there. Like it'll tell you like this is a red zone or this is a green zone.
There are several travel advisories and travel warnings all over the world. And that is one of the things that, and I'm glad to sit on the panel with you guys, because that's one of the benefits of having group travel. You guys make sure that you're not taking someplace, probably don't have 3-day trips to Juarez, do you? No. Good.
All right, okay, thank you so much. All right, so Brent, if someone wants to go on a tour, how do they book one and find out more information?
Well, I did bring some catalogs here today, so there will be catalogs in the back.
Okay.
The easiest way is to visit our website or call our friendly reservations team.
Okay, awesome. Don, I know that you have someone, you're going to be here afterwards. You brought some of the Play magazines with that information.
Guys, the key thing here for our trips is that Play magazine. That's going to have everything listed in it. And I've got some back here. I don't think I have enough for everybody. But all you got to do is call that number at the front desk at Blanchette Park, and they'll send you one out. But tell them you want on the mailing list, because each 6 months when they come out, they'll automatically mail them to you. And I've got some business cards back here. If you got a question about any of our trips, anything coming up or whatever, give me a call or an email on that business card.
All right, great.
What
So
was
you'll
the-
be sticking around, no, you're great. So you'll be sticking around if somebody wants to
Yeah,
speak to you.
I've got some itineraries on one trip that's not full. I don't know what happened there. We've got 6 openings on our Amish trip to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So,
Okay.
yeah, so we got 6 openings there. Normally they're full.
Okay, all right. All right, so panelists, thank you for being here. Can we get a round of applause? Okay, so they're going to be sticking around, and obviously there's more information in the back. No pressure. If you want to grab it, grab it. If you don't, just, that's fine. Next month, we're having the truth about brand new living options for seniors in the area. So we'll have the Villages of Argonne Hampton Manor, which is building 3 locations in St. Charles County, the Boulevard of St. Peter's, and a really cool new place that nothing like it is here called Viva Benet in St. Peter's. So if you'd like to take part of that, you can sign up in back, and we'll send you a reminder email. So let's open it up for questions. Okay.
I have one for Brian.
Okay, go ahead, David.
Why do, when you go through the TSA, they make everybody take their belts off?
Why do you have to take your belts off when you go through security?
If you take it off, it's difficult when you got a couple bellies to put it back on. So, why did they require that?
Yeah, why?
So, 2 comments. The question was, why do we make you take your belt off? The second thing was, I understand about the belts. It's very simple because, give away a trade secret, 1, the buckle alarms a lot of times. Very simply, but also one of the easiest places to hide anything on your body is your waistband. And to get as much off that area as we can kind of stops everybody. But the biggest reason is you're going to set off both of our machines. Whether it's the walk-through metal detector or the body scanner, the belt generally shows up on both. So it expedites the line.
Can you wear suspenders and keep them on?
Yeah, but it's going to be the same issue as every night. I mean, you can keep them on, but you're going to end up having additional screening because of the buckles and stuff.
Okay, all right. Evelyn in the back, you had a question?
Brian, just off the top of your head, what countries would you be least likely to send your family to visit to travel?
Right now, and this is not any kind of personal bias, but I can tell you some of the most prominent travel warnings we have right now are to Haiti. Various areas in Mexico.
Really?
Yeah, shocking, but yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There's a lot of gang activity and cartel activity in Mexico. That there are some places where they target resorts. There's a lot of kidnapping for ransom and stuff like that.
Okay.
There are numerous ones in the Middle East. If you're going to take a Middle East tour, I really suggest that you use a guided tour like what these guys are selling because, you know,
Safety in numbers.
to a novice traveler, just to fly into Syria or Afghanistan, Iraq, or Iran is very dangerous. So, but probably one of the most common ones. Port-au-Prince, Haiti is one of the more violent places, and we've had a travel warning to Haiti for years, just because of the amount of violence that goes on in Haiti.
Yes, ma'am.
2 questions, both for Brian. The first is, and I don't mean to be morbid, but a lot of people are having remains cremated. Can you travel without any special containers or any
Absolutely.
documentation or what with remains? With
Absolutely.
ashes?
We see crematory remains almost daily. My suggestion for traveling with crematory remains is to remove them from all, like your carry-on bag. They're generally in a box or in an urn or in a bag, but you can leave them in that. Just remove them from your bag, because if you don't tell us they're in there, when they go through the x-ray, they're compacted so tightly in their packaging from the crematorium that we can't see through them. If we know they're in there and you remove them, we put them on top of like a grid that helps us see through them, and once we can see through them, there's no issue. So just ask questions and inform us that you have them. We're very sensitive with them.
Okay. And you had a second question?
Second question is why are the airports not consistent regarding taking electronics out of your carry-ons?
There's a couple different reasons. One is, the easiest answer is different equipment. Even in Lambert, we have 4 different styles of x-rays. In 2 of those styles, I can let you leave stuff in your bag. In 2 of the older styles, I have to have you remove them. So there's that. And inconsistency is part of our security posture. It's built in on purpose. We don't want it to be so consistent that people, that are bad actors learn our security processes.
So there's a method to the madness.
There is sadly a method to that madness.
Okay.
That's why it's not posted then? It's like you get there and it's like, well, am I supposed to take it out today or
Yeah.
not?
I get yelled at, depending on what airport I go through, and I know the rules, but I just traveled back from Philadelphia and I went through an x-ray. I went through a lane that had a new x-ray that I didn't realize, and And I started taking my laptop out, and they told me, "Sir, you don't have," they kind of told me abruptly, "You don't have to do that. Stop doing that. Put it back in." So yeah, just, you can always ask, do I have to take out my electronics, or, you know, even though there's cognitive overload going on as you approach the checkpoint, once you get in that specific lane, there should be somebody there helping you or advising you what to do best and whatnot too. So if not, just ask.
This has to do, I don't know, how do you find out if your phone will work overseas?
Oh. Anybody know?
How to find out if your phone will work overseas. You ask your carrier, or a lot of times there's a help number right from your phone, or go to the website. But if it's, I haven't seen anybody have any problem going to Europe, anywhere in Western Europe or Canada or Mexico in years. So the phones are super adaptable. Most times you don't have to do anything, but it would be a good idea to log into your account and check that you have an international plan.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a real fast comment. We were detained in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe during COVID in 2021. And because of our travel agent, who was from Zimbabwe, we took one credit card, no debit cards, okay? We were detained for 10 extra days because we tested positive for COVID. We needed more money, we ran out of money. So I was the one who wasn't positive, so I went to an ATM and asked for a PIN number for my credit card. I don't have PIN numbers for my credit card, I only had PIN numbers for my ATM. So it would be good maybe to think about that. I even called the young lady that was with us, who was very high tech. She goes, I don't have a PIN number for my credit card, only for my ATM, my debit card. So I didn't realize that until we got over there. And we worked it out, but it was very difficult.
Yeah, if you want to take cash out on your credit card, you're going to need a PIN number.
I think we all are asked to provide one when we sign up for a card, but, you know, if you signed up for your card, 10 years ago, you don't remember, right? Okay. Yes, ma'am, in the peak.
Brian, how far ahead of your flight departure time do you need to be at the airport?
There's a lot of variables to that, but the standard answer is 90 minutes to 2 hours. For international travel, I would suggest 2.5 hours. International travel, international check-in does take longer. We don't have a tremendous amount of international travel out of Lambert, but if you're flying out of LAX or Chicago or something like that, checking your bags, getting your international, a lot of times they review documents and stuff, so I give it a little longer. But flying out of Lambert or any Missouri airport, the larger two airports, I would say 90 minutes to 2 hours. If you're flying Southwest, I'm going to say 2 hours, just because they're so much busier, and especially here at Lambert.
Yes, ma'am.
International driver's licenses, your thoughts on those?
I don't know much about international driver's licenses.
I have gotten one every time I've gone international, whether to New Zealand or Canada, and their recommendation was, it's through AAA, was that if you get stopped internationally, you can give that up instead of your regular driver's license.
Okay.
And so to me, it was always worth doing.
So I know last year I got pulled over in Canada, and I gave my American U.S. driver's license, and there was no issue. But yeah, I can imagine like New Zealand or Australia or something. But I don't know much about foreign driver's license, honestly.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you're taking, like you mentioned, Lambert is no longer international. If you're going international, you'll fly from Lambert to another airport.
Yep.
To catch your flight, do you have to go through security again then?
Two things. Lambert is an international airport. We do have international flights. We do have flights to Europe still through Lufthansa, and we do have Caribbean flights and flights into Mexico and Canada. So I might have misspoke. We do have some international travel. It's just not much. Not like it used to be in the heydays of TWA.
If you have to fly with somebody who doesn't fly direct, and you have to transfer planes and everything, you don't have to go through security again, then, do you?
Correct. No, if you go through security in Lambert and you go to Chicago O'Hare on the same airline and you then go on to Europe, no, you're done once you go through St. Louis, unless you leave security. Now, there are
Outside or
examples,
something.
if you fly through LAX and you transfer from a domestic terminal to Tibbet or their Tom Bradley International Terminal, yeah, you are going to have to go through security again. So it's kind of a yes and no answer, but if you're staying on the same airline and you don't have to change terminals, generally you're going to be okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any idea how long the pre-check application takes?
If you start your pre-check application online, and then you can only do so much online, then you have to actually go to a local enrollment center, and they have them all over, including one in Lambert in the terminal, but they have them, I think there's one here in St. Charles actually. And you go there, and once you go in there, they verify information, they take your payment, they take your picture. That enrollment process takes less than half an hour. And then you're issued what we call a known traveler number, which is what you use. You don't get a card or anything like that. You just get a number. And then when you make your reservation, you put that known traveler number in your reservation, and that's what triggered your pre-check.
Thank you.
I know there was something, something I just popped into my head. I had talked to you guys about, on the travel, if you are traveling alone, but you want to double up with somebody, if you want a room with somebody. And I think you guys both talked about that as something that you will make arrangements to coordinate.
Yes,
for
at
people.
Sunrise Tours, if you'd like to travel with a roommate, we'll match you up with a roommate as long as you book at least 60 days before departure. If we don't match you up with a roommate, then you still go at the double fare. So that's, we'll either match you up with a roommate, same sex of course, or if we can't, then you still go at the double fare in your own room, which is a great deal.
Well, our policy's a little bit different. If I get a traveler that says that she or he would like to have a roommate, I say, okay, if I've got another one, first what I do is, if I have another one, same sex, I say, okay, is it okay to give the other traveler your name and phone number? If I get an okay from both, then I relay that to both of them, and we suggest that they talk on the phone, maybe meet for coffee to be sure they're compatible. And then I said, it's up to you guys, let me know what you want to do. So that's the way we handle it.
Okay, awesome. Okay. I mean, it's a great way if you're single and you're wanting to get to know people and go on a trip, and it's more cost effective that way. So one last thing, passports. Currently, they are taking 6 to 8 weeks. So another thing that you need to do ahead of time. You can pay an additional $60 to expedite, and then it takes about 2 to 3 weeks. That's what it is currently. We've seen it be a lot longer than that, after COVID. So they're running pretty good right now. So, okay. Any other last questions?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you actually help a person downside?
Yes, ma'am, we do. Yes, and if you'd like more information, we're happy to talk to you about after this. Okay? All right. Okay, one more.
I don't know if this is really. I've been looking at Cruise Critic online. I get emails and all those options, and it sends you here and there. Do you know anything about that? Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. Anybody else know about Cruise Critic? No? Is there a good site to go on to evaluate cruises?
TravelSunrise.com.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending. Hope to see you next month. How about another round of applause?